Hello, welcome back to another recap of The Real Housewives of Potomac. Season 5, Episode 5, Look Who's Squawking. I'll give you a hint. It's T'Challa, the African gray parrot, who is arguably maybe the extra housewife, or let's say she's a friend of Monique, but she's definitely got a big part in this season. You know how much I love these ladies. I think they're the funniest. Honestly, out of all the franchises, these ladies make me laugh. When they throw shade, when they, holler back at each other, when they make their little comments or their little digs or just their general observations on life, I'm here for them. I really think they are very amusing. And you know what? It's because they're smart. They're smart, yeah. And they're educated. They have good vocabularies. They're just, yeah. I love this group. What can I say? All right, so we start in with Candace and Chris. She's looking at houses. She's looking up several levels at houses compared to where they are now. So I'm not sure if she's actually going to take help from Mom or if Chris's restaurant is going through the roof. I mean, I know he's a chef and I think he's part owner, but I'm not sure exactly about their financial situation. But I know they are living in a cute townhouse right now. It looks like it's in Alexandria. I'm not sure if I ever caught it. It looks like Alexandria to me, which is a really cool, fun place across the river from DC in Northern Virginia. Okay, she says she's starting to feel ready for a baby. Chris has been ready, as we know. He's made that very clear. Chris asks about Karen's party. How was Karen's housewarming party? And Candace said she talked to Giselle and apologized to her. Candace, that was one of your apologies. That was a weak-ass apology, as almost all of your apologies are. Again, as we covered last time, it's always, gee, I'm really sorry that you felt that way and that you misunderstood what I said. I'm sorry that, in other words, again, you, not I, not simply I apologize for the hurtful words that I said. Candace is messy. She's a messy girl. Okay, well, of course, during that weak apology, Giselle hit back by saying, look, I know you called me a monster, okay? I heard that, and that's not cool. That was not funny. That was not a joke. That was just being mean. All right, so Monique invites all of the ladies to her lake house. The husbands can come for the last night. I seriously don't think they'd want to be there for the whole time anyway, because we've got some beef going between a few of the ladies right now. A lot of the beef is involving Candace, but now we're going to see Wendy jump in and get a little bit messy for the first time. See, I knew she wasn't going to stay all sweetness and light. You could tell she's spicy. So, Candace is thinking about going, but she's not sure. She said she doesn't really need more Monique. On the other hand, it is a nice time to spend, time with the other ladies and maybe work a little bit harder on her relationships with Giselle and Ashley, which, as we know, have not exactly been flourishing. Mostly because Candace just doesn't know when to stop. When she loses her temper, man, she picks up that iPhone and she just hits Twitter and she just goes low as low can be. She's got a temper. She has what I call a texting temper. She's one of those. All right. Now there's a little packing montage. We see Robin with the boys, and the boys don't want her to leave, which is kind of cute at their age because they're not little anymore. They're getting kind of, I guess they're kind of that preteen age, and it's kind of sweet that they still are like, no, Mom, don't go. I like that. We see Wendy and Eddie and her two boys who are just pretty wild. Those boys are wild. And she is going to leave Cameron, the baby, at home with the nanny and with Eddie, and so she's got to pump a whole lot of breast milk because that is a little baby. Remember that her little girl is the same age as Dean, as Ashley's baby. Okay, Giselle is working with Jamal's assistant on scheduling time with him because he is very busy now that he's pastor of kind of a big shot church in Georgia. So she's trying to make all this work, and part of it is that she wants him to spend as much time as possible with the girls because we know the girls are really not there for this relationship. So I think she thinks that if they're together more as a group, it's going to help. I'm not sure. Look, I've said it before. They saw you crying. They saw you probably lying in bed over what that man did to you with his cheating and having babies with other ladies in the congregation. And, you know, so again, you can imagine why they might be a little hesitant to be jumping up and down over mommy and daddy getting back together. And like I've said, I don't trust Jamal yet. I don't know him. I just know what he did last time. And he has that player vibe. I mean, come on. Anybody's got to see he's got that, you know, yeah, that big shot player vibe for sure. Okay, then we see Ashley and Michael and Dean. Ashley does not want to take the baby, but she also wants to take the baby. She's torn. On one hand, she's thinking, you know, it would be kind of nice to have just a girls' weekend, but Dean's pretty little and she doesn't want to worry about it. So she decides she's going to bring Dean and a nanny, which is okay. That's reasonably smart. You know, bring the nanny along so you can still have fun with the girls. I'm not exactly sure then why Monique didn't tell Wendy she could bring her baby. Anyway, okay, and it's only 3 days. I think is it 3 days? Is it 4 days and 3 nights? Or 3 days and 2 nights? I'm not sure, but it's not that long. But then again, I mean, look, these babies are really little, and again, I'm not a mom, and I don't know at what age it's okay that you feel comfortable to leave a baby with a nanny, even, or nannies, or even the best care. I can understand. All right, now we see Monique, and she's going on and on and on and on. They have to actually speed up her talking head because she's got so much, you know, going on and on about how hard it is to open up the lake house and get the pool up and running. And they don't use it all the time, so they kind of have to open it up when they're going to use it. And Monique has the best wigs. I already talked about the wig she's got in the confessional with the afro puffs, but this little kind of short, cute little bob she's got, kind of curly bob that she's got while she's getting ready and then leaving for the lake house is just so cute. Girl has the best wigs. Monique is just, she's my Dorit of Potomac. She's the one who I feel like she hardly ever takes a misstep when it comes to style. I'm there for her. Okay, Giselle and Karen decide they're going to ride with Monique. Monique wants to spend a little quality time with Giselle. Giselle is, of course, afraid of the parrot. Most people who are not used to being around parrots are afraid of them. So, you know, Giselle is kind of looking at the bird like, no, you're not, he's not, what is he going to be flying around inside the car with me? And Monique kind of teases her and lets her think that, yeah, he's going to be sitting on your lap. Giselle is definitely the Lucille Ball of the whole Housewives franchise. She's the funniest, she's got the facial expression, she's got the eyes, she's so expressive. She's really funny, she cracks me up. She has like a natural sense of comedic kind of timing that I'm there for Giselle too. All right, yeah, so Monique is bringing T'Challa, is bringing the bird, but the bird will be in his cage, in the car with them, but in, oh, sorry, her, it's a female, in her cage. Okay. Karen arrives and they rib her. She's wearing kind of a little crop top, but it's an appropriate crop top. It's an age appropriate crop top. It's got just a little bit of the upper abs showing, and she actually looks really cute. Yeah, they're just cute. When they get along, they are really so cute and so funny together, these ladies. Okay, then we cut to them traveling in the car, and Giselle is staring at T'Challa, at the parrot, in her cage next to her on the seat, like, she's not thrilled. I think apparently she's going to leave the trip one day early. It probably is 3 nights, not 2 nights. She's going to leave the trip one day early because she's going to New York to an awards presentation. Her book has been nominated. The book that she wrote on being a preacher's wife, which I think was sort of semi-fictional. I think that some of it was definitely based on her experiences with Jamal, and but then I think it's semi-fictional, but definitely based very much on her experiences. So she's nominated for an award, and she wants to go, and you know, whether she wins or not, she's honored to be nominated, so she wants to be there. Okay. They kind of all wonder why Ashley is bringing Dean, but again, it's Ashley's first. I mean, look, every little baby, I'm sure, you know, Wendy is not thrilled about leaving Cameron. Cameron's really little. She's not thrilled at all about leaving her, but she's making it work. But Cameron is her third child. This is Ashley's first. So I can understand how when the child is just a handful of months old, just so small, why it would be hard to leave the baby. You know, Candace, at this point, they're driving there. She hasn't even committed to Monique whether or not she's coming. And you're on your way to the lake house, so I guess she's going to text or call at the very last minute, but it must be a little drive. I used to live in Annapolis, Maryland, outside of D.C., and a few times I went out in Western Maryland, which is very wild. It's really wild. It looks like Wyoming or something. And there are these lakes out there that are kind of part hillbilly and then part rich people from DC and Baltimore with these big mansions. That describes Maryland. Maryland is part rich people from DC and Baltimore with huge mansions. And then it's also very hillbilly. Yeah, it's like one town right next to the other. It's interesting. Okay. Giselle is stirring the pot, or another word I'd like to use, stirring the shit. She is telling Karen that Wendy has had a lot to say about her, that Wendy has said that Karen has not been welcoming to her, has not been the kindest to her, but most of all that Karen doesn't appreciate that Wendy made a reference to the fact that she didn't believe that Karen and Ray were still having sex. Again, Karen herself is making references to the fact that her marriage is a little bit on ice right now. But look, don't shut your mouth about people's bedroom business, Wendy. That tells me right there, Wendy's got a rude side, even though she's very, you know, I'm the doctor, I'm the PhD, I'm the talking head on MSNBC. She's got a messy side. She shouldn't be bringing up things like that. It's inappropriate. Okay. Yeah, it's not your business, Wendy. You should be smart enough and educated enough to know all of that. Okay, the lake house is in Newburgh, Maryland. I think I've been there. I think I have been to that lake. Anyway, it's beautiful. The house is stunning. It's kind of like colonial style with a lot of brick, and it's lovely. I mean, let's face it, Monique and Chris have great taste. I don't know if it's, yeah, they have great taste. So, of course, it's another beautiful house. Robin arrives. They're making a lot of jokes about being in the middle of nowhere, which they kind of are. There's also a guest house, which I guess is kind of far enough away that you take a little golf cart out to it. So they kind of settle the rooms. You know, these ladies settle who's going to get what room in a much nicer way than the heyday of the Real Housewives of New York, where, you know, Ramona and Sonia were running around like maniacs trying to secure the best room. This is much more chill. And it kind of all fits and makes sense for the different ladies, and it's all settled very amicably. Okay. All right, so Candace shows up after all. That's nice of her to let her hostess know kind of at the last minute. She says that she is hurt by Monique, but she says this in her confessional. She's hurt by Monique, but she's coming for the other ladies. So, all right, now this is kind of funny. I'm watching the ladies are sitting in the kitchen, and T'Challa is on her perch. I told you I've been a parrot person, a big bird person. And it's normal for you to have a cage, which is usually where a large cage, which is usually where your bird kind of sleeps at night. They're extremely nocturnal. When it gets dark, they're happy to just go in their cage and have the cage covered until morning. So unlike little babies, they do sleep through the night. But during the day, a big bird is not going to be happy sitting in a cage. So what you do is you buy these big platforms that have these kind of like wood, kind of like faux tree trunks, and you have toys for them and food and snacks, and they kind of hang out on that. And so they're out in the air, but I think T'Challa probably has her wings clipped. That doesn't mean they can't still fly. They can still kind of jump from place to place. It just means they can't, if they get out, fly long distance. We made the mistake of not clipping our Jende Conyers wings, and he flew. They can fly 50 miles in a day. So when he got out, something scared him and he just took off like into the far distance, and we're like, oh, he's out over the ocean by now. We never saw him again, which was sad. But again, we decided not to clip his wings because the birds do love to fly. They love to really fly around the house, and we had high ceilings and a big house. So we thought we were being humane, but actually we ended up losing. We ended up losing him. Okay, anyway, so I'm watching Wendy talk. Wendy is loud. Everything about her is big. Her gestures are big. And T'Challa is on the open perch nearby, and I'm saying to myself, because of my experience with birds, I'm saying to myself, yeah, T'Challa is gonna attack Wendy, definitely. And I'm thinking, because my experience of being attacked by my parrot was that this kind of attack usually ends in a little bit of bloodshed. It's inadvertent. It's not like the parrot's actually trying to come to hurt you. It's more like an annoyance, like, shut up, stop doing that. You're bothering me, you're scaring me, what's your deal? And it's more like they usually come and they swoop down on you and they kind of attack you. They flap their wings and they kind of peck lightly at you, or sometimes hard. And it's because they want you to stop what you're doing. In our case, our bird hated our cell phones. He was jealous. He could not stand it. If we picked up our cell phone and started talking to people, he was like, who are you talking to? I can't see that person you're talking to. I don't know who you're talking to. And it got to the point where every time the cell phone would ring, we lived in fear. I mean, it was pretty bad. And I mean, he wasn't specifically trying to wound us, but you know, they've got those big hook bills. Those bills are strong. So in trying, I believe that he thought that the cell phones, that the iPhones were dangerous to us, and he was trying to get them out of our hands to protect us. It's hard to explain, but it was kind of obvious that's what he was doing. But in the process of trying to get you to drop the cell phone, you might end up with a hole in one of your fingernails or a hole in your finger, or, you know, blood somewhere. So all this is to say that, of course, what happens? T'Challa attacks Wendy. And an African gray is not a small bird. So we see the wings flapping in her face, and she is screaming. Wendy is screaming like a banshee. She's absolutely terrified, which is normal. Look, it's very scary, even if you have a bird and you're used to the bird attacking you. It never gets normal. It's always a little scary, and yeah. So it was not, however, a hard attack. That's going to sound funny, like what, there's a good way for a parrot to flap all over you and terrify you and peck at you. No, this was not a serious attack. Trust me, with an African gray, if it were a serious aggressive attack, Wendy would be bleeding. So it wasn't actually that serious. But I totally understand how the ladies would be like, what the hell? Again, this is an advanced animal, not for everyone. Okay, Wendy is, first of all, annoyed by being attacked by the large African gray parrot. Then she's kind of annoyed that she did not bring her baby because, of course, Ashley shows up with Dean and her nanny. So Monique gets her back up with Ashley. Well, it's not really Ashley's fault. It's, Monique did not say to Wendy, you know what, Ashley's bringing her baby. If you want to bring your baby, I guess she just didn't think about it. because Monique was like, I definitely would have brought Cameron if I knew Ashley was going to bring Dean. She could have brought Cameron and a nanny, just like Ashley brought Dean and a nanny. But I don't really think that's Ashley's fault. So she's going in really hard. You know, now she's talking about how Cameron was a preemie. She was born 2 months early. It was very difficult for her when she was born. She was worried to death about her. It was touch and go. And yeah, so Wendy's kind of getting very quickly, getting angrier and angrier. And then Ashley and Wendy just get into it, which again is really silly, because if anybody made a mistake here, Monique should have thought, okay, I have 2 women with babies the same age. If one is bringing the baby, I should at least tell the other one that there's going to be a baby if she wants to bring hers. So it's really Monique's issue, but they just turn on each other. And the fact that they turn on each other shows me that there is a kind of inherent some tension between the 2 of them, that they're probably going to tend to have problems, because that's just the way it is. Granted, Wendy can be a lot. We're seeing that she's got this big personality and this big mouth and this loud mouth and lots of gestures, which is why parrots will always attack her. Okay. Now, Karen is trying really hard with Ray, and as always, I think this is going to be through the whole season. She calls him on the phone, and she says, I miss you, and he goes, you know, like nothing. It's just a little sad. The whole thing with Karen and Ray is making me a little sad. I hope there's some light at the end of the tunnel by the end of the season, but obviously life does not follow television program seasons, so we'll see. All the ladies are struggling with bad cell service out in the country. Eventually, Monique gives them the Wi-Fi, the WEP code, which I guess helps. They can WhatsApp or whatever. Anyway, so Wendy asks, she asks Monique, what is the theme for the weekend? Disney villains. I mean, what? That's a very strange question to ask. Monique then asks Wendy, well, what, are you okay after that fight with Ashley? You went in pretty hard. And she's like, yeah, it's okay. But now there's kind of like a little bit of something in the air between Ashley and Wendy. Ashley's going to end up being in it with everybody, just like Candace is in it with everybody. But Ashley does it more. Ashley's not really messy. I mean, she can be, but she's not really deliberately messy. She just somehow says the wrong thing at the wrong time. And Ashley, for all of her pretty little adorable little frilly dress, flower dress self, Ashley she's got a temper. She's got a big temper. She's got a big girl temper. So, okay. Now, Candace comes to see Giselle. Giselle and Robin are staying in the guest house. So, Candace takes the golf cart out to the guest house, and Candace is just being all cutie. She's like, hi. She sits down next to the sofa real close to Giselle, and she's just being adorable, like they're sisters, like they're the best of friends, and they're not. You just told Wendy Giselle was a monster. Giselle has a long memory. She never forgets. So it's perfect, because you can see Giselle is literally like this on the sofa, because Giselle's face doesn't lie. That super expressive face will always tell you what she's feeling. She doesn't know how to put on poker face. So Candace tries to give a real apology, I guess. It's not much of one, but it's a little better than before. At least she doesn't end up somehow blaming Giselle for the fact that Candace called her a monster. And the resolution basically is that Giselle says, well, let me put it this way. Yesterday you were not on the wedding list. Not that she and Jamal are planning a wedding yet, but she says you were not on the wedding list. And she said, now you're on the B list, which I thought was kind of funny. Not the A list, but you're on the B list. So you might get one of those tables in the very back, you know, with the weird cousins from wherever. Okay, Monique arranges a beautiful dinner. She has a cook, and she has a woman there to serve and decorate, and she's, you know, set up something beautiful, as she always does. Okay, they start to play a game, which is always a terrible idea. God, they never learn in these Housewives franchises. Let's play a game. Why don't you say 3 things that you really hate about the person next to you, or something like that? It always ends in complete and utter disaster. Monique starts. She asks Candace what her school days were like. And Candace says, well, I was the only brown girl in school, so it was a little challenging. I felt like I had to try extra hard. And Ashley asked a good question. She said, is that why you went in for African studies at university? And she said, yeah. And then Giselle asks, is that why you got your nose done? Candace has not had a nose job. They show a picture of her on a sports team in high school when she's quite young, and she's got that little nose at that young age, so she has not had her nose done. Anyway, so that was a little awkward. Candace asks, I mean, the game, I guess, is to ask an uncomfortable question to everybody. I think it's just such a bad idea. I mean, play charades or something. What are you doing? Okay, so Candace asks Robin if she is really marrying Juan. And of course, this is driving Giselle crazy because she's the only one there who knows that Juan is planning everything and that Giselle is helping Juan design the ring. And, you know, so she has to shut up. Even though Giselle loves to run her mouth, she's not going to let this secret go. She's going to hold it. So it's a little challenging for her. Okay. Karen asks Giselle, how does she feel about going forward with Jamal? And this is kind of a stupid question because it's obvious what the answer would be. How does she feel about going forward with Jamal after he cheated on her and had babies with those ladies from his congregation, many of whom knew Giselle and she thought they were her friends? Giselle says, very cool and calm, it's all about moving forward now. It's not that easy to forget. I mean, she's clearly trying really hard, but it's not that easy to forget. This is not one incident. This is multiple incidents of him cheating and apparently more than one baby situation. So, all right. Okay, we're going to skip the conversation about Ashley's medical problems. Again, it's why they think on this show that we have to know these things that are just too graphic and too just gross. I don't care. So fast forward. Okay. Now Karen goes after Wendy. She says, Wendy, Robin told me you said that I don't have sex with Ray. And Wendy immediately turns it around and goes right back on Karen and says, Karen, from the very beginning, you were weird to me. You kept acting like you don't know me. And apparently not only are they on the same board, but they're on the same panel or subcommittee of a board that only has 5 people on it of some charity. And I know how that works. You can be on a nonprofit board that might have 20 people or it might have 100 people. But then when you get into like subcommittees for certain events or certain aspects of it, it's usually a handful of people, and those people become your friends. Maybe not your best friends, but they're your friends. You know them very well. I mean, I'm in that situation now. I you know, the people that I work with, I know well. Okay, and you know, Karen has definitely been very dismissive to Wendy. Karen hasn't even tried to hide it. I mean, during her confessional in the very beginning, she said, yes, I know, Wendy. I'm not impressed. Okay, Karen, shady Karen. I love you, Karen. I love you, though. Okay, so anyway, now Wendy behaves very well with Karen. What they do is they decide that they're going to have, first they say lunch, and they say, no, dinner. They're going to have dinner together. So they're going to have wine. They're going to have a nice long time to speak and get to know each other. That's very good. That's good job. Okay, perfect. Good closure on that. Okay, and right after we have this kind of lovely, you know, resolution with Wendy and Karen, Ashley starts popping off at Wendy for attacking her for bringing the baby, and Wendy has not apologized because Wendy was pretty harsh on Ashley, and it's just ugly. So now they're basically in a full-blown fight. Robin tries to make peace but does not do a good job. Wendy will not apologize to Ashley. It's silly. Wendy was definitely overstepping herself. She was definitely rude. A simple apology does so much, and I don't know why it's so hard for so many people. Ooh, Ashley says, this is why you don't have a lot of female friends. And then Wendy says, I don't have a lot of female friends because I don't mess with fake bitches like you. I love these ladies because they're not Jerry Springer messy. They're intelligent messy. They're well educated messy. They have, you know, they can kind of be dirty when they need to be dirty, but they can also kind of elevate. I love these ladies, and I hope you do too. Okay. Okay, and now, finally, Wendy drops what she thinks is apparently her final weapon against Ashley, which I would say, who the hell cares? She says, okay, you no longer call me Wendy. You can call me Doctor, as in Dr. Asefo, because she has a PhD. That is so cheesy. I mean, you don't, I have a PhD. You don't do that. You don't use the, you know, in social situations outside of the university setting or an academic conference. You don't ask people to call you doctor. You don't introduce yourself as doctor unless you're coming on like television, you know, to be an expert on something or certain situations, very professional situations. Yes, it would be appropriate to say Dr. Wendy Asefo, PhD, to distinguish it from MD. Okay. Okay, so actually after all of this, I have to say I'm liking Wendy a whole lot less now. She's not quite the elegant, aspirational woman that I thought she was. Now it looks like, we'll see a little preview for next week, and there's going to be a whole lot of mess with Michael. I'm sure you've probably heard about it. I've heard hints of it, but they're going to start talking about it, and they're going to start talking about the details, and they're going to start showing, you know, the receipts. All right. You know, I have to say this about Michael, because usually I'm like, no, you look, it's easy to fabricate anything. You can say anything about anybody with social media and with, you know, like I was talking on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I made a fake text string between Denise Richards and I. I fabricated a fake text string using an app where she told me my husband was hot, you know, just as a joke, because people kept saying, Denise Richards said that that those text strings could have been faked. That's not real. That's not a thing. Yeah, go to your app store on your iPhone or your Android or whatever and look up a fake text app and see how many come up. They're free. So, not that I'm recommending. Not that I recommend that you do that. I did it for a specific reason, to show people that you absolutely can fake a text string. And yes, I'm not saying this is what happened. I don't know what happened for sure, but if Brandi Glanville wanted to fake a text string going on for a year, she could. If you have the time, if you're that bored and that desperate for fame, Brandi, you could absolutely make the longest text string that you want with fake dates and times, and it'll look like, you know, Denise Richards, Brandi Glanville, Denise Richards, Brandi Glanville, the text going back and forth. Anyway, I got a little off track there, but I just wanted to say that in the case of Michael, where there is this much smoke, I tend to say there is fire. There's just too much. I mean, there's too much pointing in the direction from too many people, too many sources, in too many different ways. I think that he's possibly, allegedly, kind of a freak. And if that's the case, I feel terrible for Ashley. But anyway, so yeah, so that next week is definitely going to be even messier. It's going to get even messier. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I love it that you come and spend this little time with me. Please remember to like and comment, and you would do me very, very great service, great honor, if you would consider subscribing. and then you can hit the bell if you want alerts when new texts come up, because I do several a week. I am actually on 2 YouTube channels, and what I will start doing is I will put the link to the other one in my about on YouTube, because I have this channel that is all Real Housewives. I have another one, Intelligent Reality Recaps, that covers Housewives and also 90 Day Fiance. Some people don't. I notice that 90 Day people are into Housewives, but sometimes the Housewives people really don't want anything to do with 90 Day Fiance. So that's why for now I've kind of got them separated out. But anyway, if you do subscribe, please be sure to drop down into the comments and give me your name, your first name, your username, whatever you feel comfortable with, and just say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm a new subscriber, because I want to thank you personally, I want to thank you in the comments, and I also want to thank you on the recaps. So I want you to be very careful and be good, but not too good.